So we're gonna get started. Thank you everyone for coming. Oh, I forgot a question today. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, we have a lot. The agenda is very full today. So first thing is the minutes from the last meeting. Any comments? Anyone want to make a motion to approve them?
Motion for approval.
Second? Okay, and, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, thanks.
You're on minutes, right?
Yep.
Oh, pen and paper. Oh,
Yep.
my only comment is your minutes were very formal. You called everyone Mr. I'm a first name.
I mean, there's two Kathys and.
I know.
So, yeah, that makes sense to do very formal with.
You could add my last official.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. I sent out a message with all of the committee assignments, and I didn't notice that's one of the copies that. I realized that a lot of people didn't have access to it, and they kept sending me notes, and but that's just the information only of what the committees are and who's on there. So let's go to the 21st building project update. We have been quite busy this last month. The community engagement committee met last Wednesday, and that's some of the papers that we're going to be looking at later. It was a really lively discussion. We talked a lot, had a lot of input on how to do our decision-making rules, like selection, win, form, takeaways and stuff. So I was really excited. That was really a great meeting. Thank you to the two new members, Kevin and Russell, for being there. That made it really, you guys had a lot of really good input into it. Our architect RQs have come back, and we looked at the list. Yesterday, was it? I don't even remember. I think it was yesterday. No, it might have been Monday. Oh, Monday. Fine. So anyway, so we are going to be talking, we have appointments set up for 3 of the architectural firms for next Tuesday, and then a 4th one we will probably also be interviewing. We're working on what our questions are going to be. It was amazing. It was overwhelming for me to look at all of this stuff and see what's going on. But it's really exciting that we're getting to this point of getting an architect, and they are coming to do the schematics for 88 Merchants Road. So that's good. What else do I need to say about the 21st building project?
Are you looking for a replacement for the architect selection subcommittee?
Yeah, if someone wants to be on the architect selection committee, I sort of feel like I don't really know what I'm doing there. So if anyone has an interest, they are more than welcome to get on that committee. Again, next Tuesday, we're meeting, we're starting at 12:30 and it will go until 6. So it is an all afternoon thing. But if anyone is interested, let us know. That would be.
I could do that.
All right.
Unless there's a bunch. All right, 12:30 somewhere here.
Here in this room.
I will forward you the schedule, which has the links to all the different architects' proposals.
Great. Okay, so let's look at the first one, I think is the site selection. this site selection criteria was in response to the community input. The staff has also looked at it, and then our community engagement committee looked at it. And it's, I think it's somewhat self-explanatory. So Randall, you gonna get that up?
Sorry, I was trying to send her an email, so
Oh.
I'll be there in a second.
I don't know if you guys all looked at it. I sent it, in the announcement for the meeting.
The one thing that struck me that I never heard of the city of Wow, but I wasn't able to go to all the meetings, is that it could be free. So when people say, what about Walmart? There's no way that's gonna be free.
Right.
So maybe that's the end of that conversation. Just
Yeah,
calling that up. Like we said it very clearly.
yeah,
It needs to
no
be free.
cost in perpetuity.
Right.
Randall, do you want to comment on that? Or not?
I really want to pull the document up. Sorry, I am now doing three things at one time, which is at least one thing more than I should be. Here we are. All right, and that one was. There is a possibility that Walmart would be free to us. But that would depend on the city deciding that the best and highest use of that property is not to have a tax-paying corporation in there, Best Buy, whoever, but instead to turn it into a new public space. And it's come up in the mayoral debate, came up twice in the Herald's letters page. So we are going to need to take a look at it. My belief on that is the only way we would be considered is if they failed for a couple or 3 years to be able to fill the space with a tax-paying tenant. It turned into a blighted property, and then the city said, hey, we're going to go in and take it over. At that point, they might want to invite us in if we still are not located elsewhere. But I think that's probably the only way we would get there. So it's an extremely long shot.
You're talking about a 3 year horizon before we even know if everything else fails, so we'd be on par.
That is my best guess. I mean, I have asked the Downtown Task Force Committee to please put it on their agenda for their next meeting. I want to address it. I'd very much like to get a no, we're not actively looking to put the library into this space at this time, which would let us move forward with Asa Bloomer. It is a handy, I don't know, plan X, Y, one of those, if Asa Bloomer, for whatever reason, turns out to be a poor fit.
It's actually more than 3 years. Like
Yeah.
Walmart's there for 3 years, then we'd have to be blighted. I think before you can even begin to start thinking about.
Yeah, it would be a very
It's
long
a-
term.
Yeah. Any other comments on the site selection criteria? Do I have a motion that the board approve this?
Does it need approval?
Well, I thought we sort of wanted to get the board's blessing.
Sure.
Put it on that. So, okay. Second? Anyone?
All set.
Okay, who's the first? Kathy.
Ms. Reynolds, to you, friend.
So if you added something, it would have to come back. As opposed to saying, yes, there's agreement that we like. It becomes a board.
Yeah. It's been through a lot of scrutiny. All in favor or any discussion, I guess, I heard that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then, thank you for the blessing. The next one is the decision-making role. This is really an important, piece because the committee, has really been challenging me and Randall, I would say, about how well versed the board is on this whole process and how supportive the board is. And where are you at and do you understand where everything is? And, you know, all of that, those types of questions. So I feel this is a really important document, and it's sort of because we have the responsibility of making the decision of what's gonna happen. It is the board's responsibility. Now, there are a lot of other people who have a say and have, you know, what they feel that they would like to have for input, but it's really our decision. So we want to make sure that the board here knows what is going on and, you know, where we're at in this process and, you know, who are all the stakeholders and, you know, what kind of process we are going through. So, I hope you guys have had a chance to look at this. We did try to include everybody that we felt were stakeholders for input. But again, know that they do not necessarily have a say, and the only people who really have a veto power is the mayor, the board of aldermen, and if we do have to go for a bond, the voters could say, no, you know, we don't want to, we don't support that. That's my understanding of this whole thing, so Randall?
No, that's exactly correct. I mean, the mayor, because this is a city-owned building and we would need support from the city if we were to move. And ditto for the Board of Aldermen. They could essentially scuttle the project if they so chose.
The only modification I would suggest is that there's a little ambiguity when you mentioned two top member town residents, member town. It looks, some people may think it's excluding the city, so you may want to say city and town. I know you've mentioned it down below, but they're not listed under it as a state.
That's a good point.
Because we didn't specify town and city.
Yeah,
Yeah, some people just change it to city.
I only thought some people might think, well, where's Rutland?
Right. Okay. Any other discussion?
The only thing I would just give back to the 21st Century Library Committee, which I'm technically on, but I am what you made the meeting a time ago, sorry, is that cat market is new. So there's a catch up that many of us need to play, and if that's an extra hour or something, we should all get caught up on, you know, sort of the highlights of what our role is and as much of the history as can be stomached. It's a long road. But, you know, it's a lot to absorb to be on the new board and then to get this piece thrown in here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was here 6 years ago, so I know that stuff, but I didn't know.
So we have tried to share as much information with you as possible, and on the website, there is the whole folder that talks all about the history and background and all of that. I don't know if people have access to that. I mean, have tried to access it because you all do have access to it, which I think will really help you to get brought up into where we're at. And are you suggesting, Kathy, that we as a board meet to discuss or sort of go through some of that information, or how would
Well, I'm
you
just
see?
reflecting on the reaction that the 21st Century Committee had when this board, I think it was December, like, well, are we sure that the city is on
Behind it.
board? And you guys who had been talking with it weren't able to, answer that directly. And then it took 2 or 3 months to get the answer. So I think I was reflecting on that, and we could all take as our homework to visit the website and pull together. But unless, I look to my new colleagues on what would be most.
Do you feel that, we should do that before we vote on whether this is a good, process that we could vote for? Or we should wait?
Process.
I mean, that the decision-making roles, that piece,
Comfortable, for the website. So, where is it?
The friendly URL is rutlandfree.org/civic. It's under the browse, if you're looking at the website, it's under the browse dropdown.
So it's under Civic Center.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would be happy to, maybe just do a lunch meeting and, answer questions, walk people through it.
Yeah, I didn't.
My time is your,
Slow anything down, but just really to try to make sure.
yep, yep.
the board part of the decision-making, the board part of the decision-making process is set by state statute. That is not something that the board could say, no, we don't want to make the decision, but that would be a decision of the board to not make the decision. By statute, it is in the board's hands.
And the good thing about having a 21st Century Library Committee that has others who are not on the board is bringing in lots of expertise. And the bad thing is that.
And yeah, and they keep asking me, is the board on board? Is the board on board? And which is a legitimate question, and thank you for bringing that up, because I really feel like, we do have a ton of new people on the board, and it would be really great to make sure that everyone is aware and knows.
And
what's
if
going
you
on.
haven't had the tour, loves to get showing the building falling down.
We had that too.
Everybody's had the tour.
We had
That
the
was
tour.
part of the orientation.
Okay.
I have offered to walk any of the architectural firms through 88 Merchants Row. So if any of them take me up on it and want to tour there, I will let this group know so that if anybody wants to tag along, because there'll be 3 or 4 people most likely from any of the architectural firms. And you can easily do that tour with 6 or 8 people, very comfortable.
Yeah, and that is a really good thing. In fact, maybe we should just try to do a tour for the board members who have not done that. Yeah, because I forgot that we did that with our previous board.
Although I think we should do that in the
Yep.
cold weather, like we did our tour, so that
Yeah,
it's nice on the 3rd floor.
yeah, because it was, that is, it's really impressive to be able to look at the space and then sort of figure out, oh, okay, okay, so I think it would be valuable, so, we'll
You
try.
think a board specific tour would be more helpful than just having people in the architectural visit?
Well, I think it will depend on timing too.
And the number, it doesn't make sense to bring 15 people along.
Right.
You're doing architecture.
Right. But I am assuming I'll do separate walkthroughs for each of the architectural firms. So they're likely to have 2 or 3 people. If we had some members of the board who wanted to tag along to each of them, we might
We
get,
find out who wants to go on a tour here.
But
Why don't we find out who wants to go on a tour, and that will give you a number. So you'll know.
right, I was just thinking,
he can throw it out.
I was just thinking that if we were offering 3 tours anyways, the chances of everybody on this board wanting to go to the same tour are very small. It would give this board 3 chances to do the tour without having to set up a separate one. So,
Yeah,
If there was
But
a
if we
concern
have-
about numbers
yeah,
being too many, then identifying how many here want to go would help identify whether it's too many or just right. The soup is pork.
well, I think that when you get the dates, if you send them out and people respond and they will say, oh, there's too many, we can say, well, can you make this next one?
If we hit over a dozen, that's probably a
Yeah, that
good,
would be-
a good maximum
Yeah,
for that.
and then
tour.
if we still have people that have not had a chance to see it, then we'll set up a separate tour for board members that have not had a chance, that we're not able to be there for one of the architect tours. Does that make sense?
And it saves me an hour.
So do I have a motion to accept the decision-making roles with the change of saying member city town residents and member city town select boards?
Moved.
There's no city.
Right, but that's true. So we just can say town select board. The board of aldermen are down on the bottom and they have.
The wording I added was member town select boards and city board of aldermen.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Moved, so moved, thank you. I think, let's go to the,
Community forum input response?
yeah, do we want to go through that one? So this was sort of us summarizing a lot of the comments that were made at our 3 public forums. If any of you were there, you know that I sat at front to type my little fingers off to try to capture what everybody was saying. And I know that I missed some stuff, but I think we got the gist of it. We talked about this and we're trying to decide, as you can see what we wrote on the back pages, you know, we have the site selection criteria, we clarified our decision-making roles. And so, the building program, that is talking, we have 2 potentials that we will talk about. You wanted to mention?
Sure. We have 2 applicants. One is an architect, one's a longtime library planner. They both have significant experience, and they would help do, one or the other would help do a building program, which is where you sit down with the staff and admin and say, okay, how many books do we have? How much space does that take? How many program spaces do we need? Public meeting spaces, et cetera, et cetera. And then they work through it with us and decide what our actual space requirements are. They help us make some of the hard decisions on, should this be 400 square feet or 800 square feet for each individual piece? And then you present that to the architect, and then the architect can say, okay, here are the pieces you want, here's the size you want the pieces to be, and they can start designing around that. The reason I want to have support on that is it is in the ALA guideline on how to design your library as an important step. And it's a step that I had 0 experience with. So I really want to have a trained professional to help walk us through that, so that we can get as good a design as possible.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yep, so that, it's exciting because we have a couple of people that are very interested in helping us in that phase. And then they will work with the architect that we choose. So, like I said, we are moving forward. There's been a lot, and this is just, so everybody sort of knows what kinds of comments and things were being made at the community level. There's nothing that we need to do at this meeting, like we don't have to approve it because what it is. Okay, does anyone have any other questions about the 21st Century Library? Where we're at, how we're moving forward? Anyone? Okay, great. Then let's go on to our committee reports. Joanne, can you start with finance?
Sure, Randall, you wanna?
Yep.
The,
Board summary first?
yeah, please, thank you.
And Joanne, can you project?
Project?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I know.
The
Yeah.
question,
I'm sure that it's, you know,
the question was moved.
adjectives that go with the projection. that I'm reading. Thank you. All right. All right, so in terms of income, where the tax support is, you know, on money. The development committee met today and came up with some ideas for some fundraising and also for some development. That I'll talk about in a little while. When you, look at the Fox Fund, you have to, it looks like we're a lot under budget, but you have to think about is that when it's done in the budget, it also includes transfers. It's not actual income, so it's not like your income. You should really maybe, we talked about changing that. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's the same as we've been talking about every month. We've increased children's programming. We had the website development, cost, but we also use money from the Fox Fund cash reserve for that. More expenses with the building project. So, the one thing I wanted to mention is not the capital campaign, the annual campaign is doing quite well. That is you know, we really gotten what the budget would be for the year. But you have to remember that we've also budgeted for, I think, what, $12,000 of fundraising, so we haven't gotten any. We got $100, I think, in our return. Oh, and we're having another one of those during the April vacation. I think it's April 21st. I'll send it all out to you at Applebee's.
We'll just do Chipotle 150 more times.
I don't know. Okay, so there's that. So I don't think there's any surprises. We haven't really, seen the results of the stock market and changes in you know, it feels bad, but then if you look at like over the course of the year, right, the stock market, you're still having gains of the last 12 months. Just.
You are such an optimist. We got a new president on January 20th, and we're down 10%. Hang on, everybody.
Well, it has. I just don't think that it's any of the panic way.
Joanne, are there any other,
Time to panic. Okay.
other than, and we don't have any control of the stock market, any other things that jump out that we should be concerned about?
Not at this moment, as long as we're aware that we have to do fundraising. That's the big thing. And keep in mind, you know, we're negotiating a contract and the healthcare is, which, yeah, I can't talk about it specifically, right? But in general, the healthcare costs have increased. We're gonna have to budget more for that. And right now, it looks, the staff and the healthcare costs together look like they're pretty much on budget. But that could change depending on what kind of plans people have, right? Someone could say, I'm gonna have a family plan, if they have a change in circumstance. You have to be careful that you don't start counting chickens that maybe haven't hatched yet. And, oh, look.
No pun intended.
Well, exactly.
It's a
Rely on
fertile
the-
time.
And we're actually in good shape on that,
We are.
just for a variety of reasons. And then for FY 26, I budgeted 15% for a healthcare increase. So hopefully another 15% on top of last year's 20%, will keep us in the ballpark on that.
Hopefully, but again.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's the big thing I don't, I don't know how, what's happening with the federal government is gonna affect us in the, because of how it's gonna affect the town and the city. That's a concern. So we really do have to, it's exciting that the development committee is starting to meet because we're really gonna have to start to maybe, get, rely more on donations and fundraisers, and I just see that in the future. So, and then any other questions or concerns?
The concern that I would have is if you're counting on the development committee, it is at least realistic to realize, or realistic to think that we've only started meeting today.
Yes, but we're incredible.
And there's 4 months to the end. Or $15,000. There's 4 months to the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we've got 1/3 of the year to create
Yeah,
a year.
I was-
That's all.
Yeah, I was also thinking more of the next year.
Oh, next, because we are.
We are. And next year, we're gonna do some ass kicking.
Both cheeks.
Thank you,
Jeez.
thank you for projecting that.
Yes. Ass is like it's hit. All right.
Okay.
So moving on to the balance sheet, I think I told you last time that we always have about 3 payrolls in the cash account, so we just created that as not a policy, a procedure, and so Darby's been doing that. I don't see anything to be concerned about on the balance sheet. We don't have any debt, which is always a nice thing. Besides basic current liabilities from operating the business. So I think our balance sheet's in pretty good shape. But next month, we're gonna start to see changes in the investment fund.
Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
And I have a motion to approve the financial.
Moved.
And a second,
Any discussion?
any discussion? All in favor with accepting it, say aye.
Aye.
Oh. Great, Thank you.
The resolution,
oh, yes,
is that an agenda item?
yep,
Can I
it
read
is,
here?
and I,
Okay, so
did that end up getting,
I have it right here.
right?
I will
did we
read it and
send
then I
out?
will give it to you.
That's right, yeah.
So, I'm just gonna make a resolution. I'm just gonna read this little document. It says
You have
resolve.
it, right, Brandon?
I do not have an electronic version. I
Oh.
cannot share it.
To you after. I have an electronic. Didn't I send you one? I sent one to you. I'll send it to her.
Yeah, you must have,
I'm
because
sorry. Because you have 5.4 million emails, and mine should be the most important, goddamn. We are resolved. The Trust Company of Vermont is hereby designated as a depository of the Rutland Free Library with authority to accept at any time for the credit of this company deposits by whoever makes funds in whatever form and in whatever manner endorsed. So then resolved that the following named persons acting singly are hereby authorized on behalf of the RFL to pay or otherwise honor or apply without inquiry, without regard to application of the proceeds thereof, checks, drafts, notes, bills of exchange, acceptances, undertakings, and other instruments or orders of the payment, transfer, or withdrawal, right, to contract or request services from the trust company, to execute and deliver all instruments and documents required by the trust company in Vermont in connection with any of the foregoing matters. And the two officers, or the two people that are authorized to do this are Darby and Randall. And so I need well, I just made the motion, so I guess I need a second.
That's what it means.
It just means that we're doing business with that
They
bank.
opened a new account.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So what happens? I can tell you, like, if banks aren't supposed to open bank accounts without a corporate resolution.
Okay.
Because people can go and open accounts, and I've had this happen where someone opened an account without anyone knowing, and then deposited money, and then things began. But we opened an account with Randall and Darby and signers on that account.
And now this is making sure that everybody knows we've done. And we-
And the bank knows that we approved, so
Right.
someone didn't open an account and say I'm the Rutland Free Library. And then start depositing checks and going to where they go, which happened here in Rutland 25 years ago. The newspaper, not to us. Anyway, second,
All in favor?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sounded very erudite.
Okay, I'm gonna report on the executive committee. Our executive committee met on the 11th of March. And really, basically, we talked about a lot of stuff here. We talked about the 21st century update, which hopefully now all of you are up to date on. We talked about union negotiations, which we will talk about in executive session. And we talked, that I handed out the board committee with the list of everyone and what the responsibilities of all the committees are. And we all thought that was fine. We are at this point tabling strategic planning, at least for another month. And, yeah, so that was the executive committee. Personnel is not here, but I will do a report. Again, we're in the middle of union negotiations, and that will be done, talked about in executive session. Policy and planning.
Policy, hi, everybody. Sorry, my son's at wrestling practice, so I'm kind of mobile. Policy, we were discussing our internet use policy or electronic resources use policy. Amy, do we have a copy of that available for everybody with the revisions?
Yes,
Yes. So if everyone wants to get some eyes on that, we've tried to model it based off of was it Fletcher's? With Kevin doing an amazing amount of wordsmithing, with the whole committee doing a lot of it. And I just sit back and gaze in wide wonder as they come up with words that make a lot more sense than anything that I can come up with. And so we're presenting it to you all. We hope that you take a look at it and we can get your approval on it. And so that we can submit it.
That all should have gone to everybody, right? You all saw that. So is there any discussion about this? I would say thank you, Kevin, for
Thank you.
the final draft is fabulous. It's a really good policy.
yeah,
And I know it was a lot of work getting there.
okay.
I think the people that went and sat in the committee shared equally in the distribution of responsibility for that final piece.
Lenny?
My only question is the electronic resource policy. Does that also cover library website privacy for people who use the website? Or is that to be a separate issue?
I'm wondering, because we got the email just a little bit about this, we asked before. This really focuses specifically 90% on the public patron computers. So to your point about site privacy, we're not guaranteeing the security of our connection. It seems to me, your question is more, do we need a warning on our website?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean, my only question is if we're collecting analytics of people who come to the website, then as a library, do we have to disclose that to people who are using the website?
I didn't know we were.
Google it a little.
I mean, I don't know. So like, are we reporting people's IP addresses? Or how long?
Is that what we're doing?
I don't know.
Is that what we're
We
doing?
do use Google Analytics, right?
Everything we, collect is, it's just, aggregated statistics. We don't have individual tracking on any individual user. The new website will also not do that. And then a very helpful thing is Koha being our main library, computer software, being cloud-based. It is stored on their servers, so we don't even pull their information across. And the software that runs the patron computers doesn't store any database or any information. It is set up simply to query Koha and say, somebody entered this card number and PIN into the system. Is it accurate? Yes, no. And so Koha is the only place that lives. As long as Koha is secure, we're in a very good place for patron privacy on our website. If Koha gets hacked, we are so screwed, I cannot explain it in an hour, let alone 2 minutes.
So we don't have to disclose that.
You know, I'll talk to Michael Diedrich, our web guy, and see what his advice is on that.
It would be really cool to be able to put up a message that we aren't collecting data, because that's very rare.
Privacy policy.
Yeah.
Outlining what we want.
Sure. And in fact, we collect not enough information for most of our patrons because they say, oh, I read that book 3 months ago and I can't remember the title. Can you look it up for me? And the answer is no. As soon as the book comes back, we have no record that you borrowed it. Unless you go into Koha and change the settings. We cannot change that setting in Koha for you. The individual patron has to. Thank you for the suggestion. Yes, we will definitely make sure there is a privacy policy on our website. I don't believe we have one on the current site, but we will on the new one. Yeah, great idea. Thank you.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great, thank you. Oh, so I need to say.
Oh, yeah, we've covered, if we could approve this, that'd be
Yes.
great.
The committee would be very grateful.
Is there a motion to approve the electronic
Yes.
resources policy? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Great, it passes. Thank you.
Yay.
Amy, can we revisit it just for?
Can I just applaud for, this is so much stronger for how much time we spent on it. And, you know, a part of it came up pretty much yesterday evening, that being one day before this policy.
I'm just gonna make a comment about, all of the great, when we had our community engagement meeting last week, Kevin and Russell were both very, gave us a lot of wordsmithing to make the policy, the things that we already approved, and it was really appreciated, so thank you so much. Okay, who's gonna report on the development marketing? Ken, are you there? Are you gonna be able to report on that?
I'm here. Yeah, I can give a quick summary with after which I would certainly welcome input from the rest of the committee. So we met this afternoon. We had a really, I think, enthusiastic, productive conversation that centered around things that we can start doing right away. I think there was some acknowledgement of the fact that time is of the essence, as Joanne mentioned, with the end of the fiscal year quickly approaching, and the need for quick fundraising. So we had some discussion around small things that we can do, like the Chipotle fundraiser, like the upcoming Applebee's fundraiser, kind of, if I could classify it as medium type things that we can do. Kathy had a great idea for a raffle for a quilt, which I think would be something that could generate a lot of interest, and you know, the quilts are quite valuable, and so you know, selling raffle tickets for something like that could be a good way to raise some quick money, as well as larger events. And we discussed a couple different ideas, including things like inviting authors to come and selling tickets for author readings and discussions, which I think was something that we've talked about in the past, but we're never really able to get off the ground. And so we are going to start kind of trying to wrap our heads around that and figure out a way that we can move forward with those ideas. There was also some discussion, I think very helpfully, about the fact that we need to be fundraising, but we also need to be developing, right? We're the fundraising and development committee. So how do we develop relationships? And I might put Kevin on the spot here for this because I think he had some good input on, yeah, I can see you on the owl. And yes, I think that, yes, you did a good job, I think, in kind of articulating the need for aligning ourselves with some of the other Rutland institutions, right? And so maybe I can let you speak to that, if you don't mind me asking.
I mean, yes, but, I mean, one of the ideas that was discussed was partnering with an identified winner. Who are the really appreciated folk in this community? And what came to mind is Paramount and Wonderfeed. And that created the idea of a triumph in Rutland City. Paramount, Wonderfeed Library. And combining and working with those entities and having a Paramount Library Day, having a library Wonderfeed Day, and sort of working together to the hopefully betterment and entertainment and education of this community, associating with not that the library isn't well recognized, that's not the concern, but gaining strength by partnering with strong partners. And that's a really easy theory to come up with. What's going to be the hard work is figuring out how we can do that. How that's going to work for Paramount or Wonderfeed, how that's going to work for us. So the idea seemed to be rational. The work will be finding those connection points. I mean, Kathy came up with the idea for an author. Who was it?
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins.
She lives in Dorset. Ken knows her.
Don't oversell it, Kathy. I have, yeah.
And
I thought about Robbins who wrote Rutland, who's podcast. Is maybe partnering, your idea is maybe have the Phoenix sort of sponsor it. So they get somebody have it here and Ken, I'm happy to provide the wine for the event when she's here.
well, I mean, one of the ideas was to charge.
Yeah, maybe one.
To charge a head, what seemed to me to be a large amount of money. The figure $40 was floated.
Yeah.
And at least in my mind, I don't associate paying to come into the library. Now, that may not be such a bad idea, but it's not a familiar one. For example, if there was a large enough response, then we could put it in the Paramount.
Right, that'd be a great idea.
Then we have a connection between paying for something and walking in and receiving. So, I mean, there's a lot of nuances and a lot of corners to come around and shadows to shed light on, but it seemed to be a very productive start, and connecting with some folks that are well recognized may be a way of bringing us into a light that is not, you bastards, you're moving from that beautiful.
That sounds great.
Well
I
said.
think you're talking about the association between when physically in the library things are free and fundraisers being held off-site is a really good one. We've always historically gotten, why is it so much for a table of contents ticket? Aren't you giving some for free to your regular patrons? And just to break that association would be helpful.
I mean, there's some history. I mean, there's the table the dinner with authors
Yeah, table
tables,
of contents.
and there was murder.
Where did
But-
we-
But generally speaking, there is that
Yeah,
disconnect for money.
And I can, walk through the details of how we've done some cooperative things
Great.
before. We did Vermont Humanities program at the Paramount. They had an expert come in and discuss Casablanca. And, we had a nice turnout for it. And ahead of that, we had an invite-only dinner, drinks and
Sure.
hors d'oeuvres, that we did charge for. So you had the private piece in their meeting room for invited guests. And I guess we didn't charge for it, but we did invite donations and made out reasonably well. And then we had a free public showing of the movie with an expert. So there are lots of ways we can do that. Yes.
And I really like the idea of the Wonder Feed connection too, because I don't think the general public knows how much kids do here. How many
Yeah.
programs are connected for children here. And I think bringing that up into the spotlight, this is not just about books, this is about kids, is a huge bonus for us, because almost nobody hates kids. I mean, there's a few, but
Depends on what time of the day it is.
there may be many, but, no, but I think that's something we need to work on so that the community recognizes. I mean, I've not heard a bad word about Wonder Feed yet. And that's because how can you crap on kids? I mean, it's just really tough to do that. And I think that's a strength. Okay, I know how you can crap on kids.
You're one of us on your own hands.
Okay, that's right. You're friend. I think creating a strength for us in that realm of benefiting kids, of enhancing kids, advancing kids is a huge inroad into this community.
right.
And I don't think we do it enough. Or at least I didn't see.
Great, I look forward to, more ideas. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ken, for stepping
Yeah.
up and,
Oh, no, hey, thanks. Yeah, thanks to the community. I know that this, we were talking about, the fact that this community is, I think, or this committee, I think, has lacked a little energy lately. And so I was very encouraged by I think the response we had in the meeting. So I think the committee is going to do a great job, and happy to be a part of it. And many thanks to everybody who was able to participate.
And you're also around. I can see that.
So that was my next question. I can fast track the quilts.
okay.
Is that okay if I?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I won't say no.
So I can fast track this. I believe they have one, and if I can get an application into the Maple Leaf Quilters who produces community service quilts, it could be approved hypothetically or potentially next Tuesday. Like, we could really
Great.
do this quickly. Our thought is to have the quilt hanging in the front of the library, and we would all, rather than have anyone, have any staff collect money or leave boxes, or around the city, we would just simply give every board member raffle tickets to either purchase or sell, and library friends raffle tickets to purchase or sell, and we could give our friends raffle tickets to purchase and sell. And so I guess I'm looking for approval.
That'd be amazing.
With that, is that okay?
Yeah, that would.
Are you
be-
worried about people coming in and seeing the quilt and wanting to buy
Yeah, that's.
a ticket and then not being able to?
Yeah, they
Right.
should be.
So then it would be staff collecting money.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
We were trying to not.
yeah, yeah.
I see your point entirely.
We've sold tickets many times for events, tables of content and things like that. It's a relatively easy process to set up. We have a credit card machine and cash downstairs, either one. So we can absolutely sell tickets, yes,
Okay. So if I, bring physical raffle tickets
yes.
and.
We would put them at the circulation desk, put signs up that that's where people could get them. And they have a, you know, a cash register right there. So if somebody gives them $50 for tickets, they can handle it. It's a matter of coding one line into the cash register, you know, for using one of the lines in the cash register exclusively for raffle tickets. So at the end of the day, Darby adds up and says, okay, there's $200 in the till for raffle tickets and there's $200 showing as receipts. So we're in good shape. And it gives us checks and balances.
That's the next question we all couldn't really agree on.
Well, everyone except for me, everyone had to sell it for 5 and I said 10. Yeah, but then I said 10, but.
You want him to sell out this many?
Well, and also. That isn't, you know, I'm always like, you know, double the fees, 25% of the clients leave, everybody's happy. It's $1,000 quilt, yeah?
I mean, $10 quills.
And you don't have to
Good,
change it, but you. I do like it when you say,
3 for 20.
yeah, there's a deal in there.
2 for 25, $10 would be 3 for 25.
Then but they have to make a change. You've got 5.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we should make it cheaper rather than more. Because I think more people will buy it.
I think
And I
it's
think-
really annoying to sign more, like if it's $5.
It may be annoying, but do you-
Bringing in 5 times.
I
That's
think
a good point,
inflation,
too.
$10, it's not a lot of money, $10.
I disagree.
Okay.
Do you
My watch, my three.
I do not remember, but my impulse is 10.
Mine is too. We can, if people are really concerned, we can go back and see, because we did raffle off tickets for tables of content as well. Because that's $120 ticket, $100 ticket, depending on the year. And so we did sell raffle tickets for that, and I think we charged $10 a ticket. I don't recall.
That was a few years ago.
Right, yeah. I don't feel 10, and people were excited about it because it was a chance to get in and do the thing as if you were able to spend $120 and support the library for a relatively modest amount of money.
Okay, so should we take a poll who's in favor of $10?
What is, have you asked filters what
Yeah.
people charge when they do these fundraisers?
I haven't asked them, but I
I'd be
can ask
curious
them.
too. He's like 5. It'd be more.
Let me just ask, my friend is the chair of the Maple Leaf Filters and she may be on her phone.
The Google has $5 one, it has $10. It's 6 for 50. Which would go with 5.
It would if you're not very smart.
Yeah, well, I've seen stupid shit like that in my life.
I believe it.
$5 per ticket or 3 tickets for $10. I can see too, if someone comes in and they got some kids and they want to spend, they don't want to spend $10 on the quilt thing. It's more of like a community thing. Yeah.
It comes out of your pocket quicker.
I'm looking at the cost, my Rotary Club, I think I know I've been in here years, has an annual raffle. And I don't think it's quite every year. So, you know, the price is different. And you get food, but it's, people tend to.
The only last rejoinder I have is that part of what we're trying to do is to get more people involved in thinking about it. And I think the general sense is that 10 is better, that's fine. But the advantage of 5 is that it does come out of the pocket a little bit quicker. And more people might be inclined to say, I'll give $5. More, not, go ahead.
How many people really walk around with cash? I mean, if we're really serious, we'll get a QR code.
Yeah.
I agree.
I also think, like, if this is a fundraiser, like, the people that want to give money to the library are gonna give.
I know, they're gonna, but I'm hoping to start hitting the people that wouldn't
But maybe
ordinarily.
those aren't the right market. for
Maybe
it.
we can do other things
Okay.
Yeah.
for $5. I don't know. Should we vote on the 5 or the 10?
I mean, Joanne, you started with the 10 and now are retreating to the 5s. I'm confused as hell.
Oh, because I always ask for more and also always say, no, it's my role on the board as the treasurer.
I do think,
Say no
I think
and
asking for more is.
What I'm supposed
probably
to
very-
do, but I also listen to other people. I just don't act like
That's
that.
fine.
I mean, a bucket program.
I know, and I, yeah.
Believe it or
And what about popcorn for the friggin' Boy Scouts? Oh, it's like $30 a bag.
Yeah, that's why we don't buy any.
Well,
I just feel we're not trying to give people a free quilt. We're trying to raise money. for the
yeah, and I think
Okay to ask
it's
for
$10 and we can do other things. We can do like mini
Penny
golf.
candy for 5?
Mini golf, we can do a mini golf thing at the mini golf place and charge a little bit of money and make that be like break even. For everybody.
We make money when we did the mini golf in the library.
Well, yeah.
Is that a good?
Yes, we made, it was the first year it was a fabulous fundraiser and then it gradually declined as people, the second and third year, people were just tired of it and it was like, yeah, I'm golfing, yeah,
So you do it once every 5.
sure, yeah.
And when you say it did pretty well.
I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say $10,000 to $12,000. Well,
That was.
That was your.
with all of our fundraisers, we make the money by the board going out and asking people in the community they know
To give money.
to be a sponsor.
Yeah.
Tables of content, we break even on the tickets we sell. They barely covers the cost to put in the event on. And we make money by saying, can you give us $2,000 or $5,000 to be a sponsor? So the benefit that mini golf has is it's relatively inexpensive compared to feeding 120 people a 3-course dinner.
But I was thinking the mini golf thing, I was not money, like literally like what the Boy Scouts do when they're recruiting. I know this because my husband's involved with scouting, is you just invite a whole bunch of kids and they pay $1 and you pay, and we're not making money. It's feeling good with the $5.
This house
The
wants
separate
$50.
issues. I should shut up.
Well, I think we're talking about different mini golf. This
Yes,
is
I'm
Yes.
talking about like a goodwill,
Which is kind of.
Do you mean kind of, Joanne, do you mean kind of like when we continually hold children and family programs and give out all the
Exactly.
material for
That
free?
they
Maybe
don't-
we should
yeah.
start doing that.
I know, exactly. We already do
There
that.
was pizza here the other day.
It was for the
Right?
D&D
There was
group.
pizza here, yes, okay. So should we vote on the $10?
No, it's 10.
Okay.
Let's just
do the
agree.
10.
There's only one person that wants 5. So I think it should be 10.
And then what, okay,
Damn
and then Kathy, you
Oh.
can decide what you want with the 3, right? 3 for 20, because we don't want to make
3 for 25.
25.
25.
Sure. Yeah.
How about 6 for 50?
But by and large,
That's 3 for 25 twice.
No, but these people have $10 each and 6 for 50. The Centerville Hysterical.
they're hysterical.
That
They're
might
in Centerville,
encourage-
Indiana. That doesn't sound like a Ritzy place.
I have one question on the application. I'd like to tell them how the money is going to be used. And I believe that's operational expenses, ongoing operational expenses.
Yes,
Children's programs.
No.
all our programming is paid for by the Fox Fund.
Paid for.
in triplicate.
Yeah, but the kids need a little extra this year. And just think, how's it being spent? It's being spent on kids.
Well,
Yeah, that's
that's
okay.
operational.
Childlike operation.
I don't remember. Things like,
Okay, well, you need some money, upfront money for buying labs or so.
No, I can do that and then
Be reimbursed. Okay.
after we get money, yeah. I mean, so when I do the I'm gonna just set them up myself. Who do I send it to get approval? Our committee, I'm getting stuck in the weeds. I have a tendency to get stuck in the weeds.
Go for it, Kathy.
Just do
We
it.
gave you approval.
Okay.
And if you want them to look at it, send it to me. I'll make sure you tell me.
send it to the committee.
Need to make a
the
motion
committee.
to make it a $10 ticket and do it?
No.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
I don't, I want, this committee has to.
But the one other piece is putting up signs. We talked about that, in pictures, not signs, but
No, but fine.
flyers. Flyers, posters, whichever.
I can draft something and,
Send it out.
you can help me work on that maybe.
Sure. We have.
Billy, can a page be added to the website? Banner, like,
What slide?
Yes, we would put it on the website, we'd put it on Facebook, I heard we needed a QR code, we have finally paid for software that generates QR codes, so we can do that.
Could we buy them online? I go online and buy it.
We put sales online, yes, that's a little bit more complicated, but I bet you we can figure it
Well,
out.
then, we don't want to make any work like that
yeah,
for you.
just say come to the library.
Yeah, come to the library, we'll just buy tickets, I'll sell tickets, like I had some little kid come to my house, the 7-year-old next door, I bought 5 of
That 7-year-old?
those things. Her parents are gonna buy 5 of these now, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's exactly.
What about time frame? When do we want to have the drawing for the book?
4 weeks, I'm just throwing out a number, 4 weeks. after we start. 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Pick a date.
a month later.
May.
Mother's Day. I don't have an actual date.
Ooh, Mother's Day. The day of the big mother.
Mother's Day.
What kind of mother?
No, we're not gonna get into that.
Why is my Mother's
Need to
Day?
be separated.
Do we want to put anything in there about like picking it up? Like, are we willing to pay like shipping costs if somebody like buys a ticket and lives in New
Costs
Hampshire?
$11.
I'll
Although
donate.
Yeah, good idea.
Throw some rags
I'll
in there. Keep the,
Wrote some right.
keep the quilt, throw some rags.
Okay, this is great. Thank you so much. It's amazing. Carolyn.
It's a Kathy and Carolyn presentation. I'll be very short. There's a few things that have been between you and dinner. I have mentioned at the last few board meetings that we've done a survey skill. And the idea of this, as I mentioned, is to determine what skills that we foresee that this board, the library needs, and what kind of skills and assets do we need on the board. This is not totally immediate now because when, we only have one board seat that opens up, at the next cycle, and that's a town representative from Ira, so it has something to do with, well. But the idea is to see what kind of skills we need, as a board member, but also go on the various committees. So, I mean, I'm gonna pick on Ken. Ken and I had coffee because he couldn't attend the governance meeting, and I learned that he, liked fundraising. Well, you know who I went and told. And Claire reached out to him, and you could just feel the energy. But for him mentioning it, we might not have known that he had an interest and that he has experience in it. So really what this is just so we understand the depth of all three, and we're not just sort of pigeonholed into what people think we've done. So if you could fill it out, I can email it to all of you if you forget it, or certainly to Ken and.
You could all do it before you leave.
Yes, that,
And you score yourself 0 to 3 on each of those. And there's no right.
The truth shall set ye free.
so, and so that's really the only report I have. Is something, Madam President? But I want to thank, Gabby and Lenny and Ken for, working on this with me.
Okay, so last but not least, we have our directors and our assistant director report.
Yes, sir?
First of all, are there any questions on my written report? Okay, and I just simply have one update, and that's that the summer intern position that we designed to be collaborative with the children's and young adults librarian positions and develop a version of an adult film reading program. She said yes today, so that's happening. She'll be starting late May, and that's exciting.
And she's gonna do some adult programming.
Yes, and yes, also some young adult.
Yeah. So that's really great.
I have a few updates. You may have heard that among the things that President Trump has canceled, one of them is IMLS, is the Institute for Museum and Library Services. He has ordered them to shut down operations. It is a directly congressionally funded arm of government, so there is the legal question about whether he has the right to shut down something that Congress has funded, but it will have very little impact directly on us. We get about $500 a year in pass-through grants from IMLS, but it does fund 30% of the State Department of Libraries. So it will affect us indirectly. It will affect smaller libraries more because IMLS tends to spread its money relatively evenly. So if you're a very small library, you might get $300 for your summer reading program. But if you're a very small library, that's huge. For us, it's $500. We don't care, honestly, because it's coming out of the Niagara and Fox Fund. So it's like, thank you very much. It's 1/100th of 1% or something like that of our budget. But do stay tuned. You'll probably, if you are on any of the state library listservs, there is a trustees listserv, I believe, and they are asking folks to please contact the federal delegation to explain how important they think that is. Again, not for us, but big for other people. A couple of building updates. We just today agreed on a new contract for lawn care. Slight increase, not too bad. And we had a small wiring problem in the librarian's office, as in a really old breaker kept tripping. So I got a bid from Alliance, which does our mechanical work. And this is scary, adding 2 breakers, replacing the old one, running about 50 feet of wire and putting in 2 4-plug junction boxes is going to cost us almost $2,200. So I no longer believe that we can do anything in terms of construction for less than about 8 million, because if that's $2,200, oh my God. Last time I had anything to do with a junction box, it was at home, and the entire junction box was $1,500. This is 3 breakers. So a scary big number, but it'll keep the building from burning down, which yay. We are moving forward on the website. I know it's been really slow. My current goal is to get it done by the end of the fiscal year, so we don't have to see a note from Darby in next year's financials about the 4th year that we have been trying to get the website paid for. One more fundraiser, I believe it's the week of April 10th, National Libraries Week. This is a fabulous one. One of our staff members said, hey, see us how we all drink coffee at the Speakeasy. Maybe the Speakeasy would be happy to have us be their flavor of the week. So they essentially did all the legwork, and you're going to be able to buy a library themed latte at the Speakeasy, hopefully an iced one, library themed latte at the Speakeasy for a week, with the proceeds coming to the library. So kudos to Tiana Ledek, who dreamed it up and did most of the legwork.
So that's April, the week of April 10th?
I believe it'll be the 10th. That's the working plan that I've seen. Again, I've just been spectating on this. It's really been fabulous. It's super exciting. Can
I just interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
That is really funny that happened, because the board has done some appreciation gift cards to Speakeasy.
Oh, right.
You can't use them until April 10th.
So I mean, I think
April
that's
9th
just
is when-
very, it's great. That was a good choice of where we chose
Yeah.
to do our fundraisers. I mean, our staff appreciation week.
And the last one, there were a couple of grossly inaccurate commentaries in the Rutland Herald in the last month or so from Don Chaffee. I don't know if you saw them. Steve Pappas, who's a friend of mine and who I hired at the Herald, we've been going back and forth. I am still hoping to see a correction come out of the Herald. He has offered one. We've been wordsmithing in an email and missing each other on phone calls. Honestly, my first phone call with him was a little brusque. Started with an F-bomb. But, you know, we worked together for many years. The problem is we have patrons who come in and quote those as if they are factually accurate to us. Oh, you never tell us, you know, I'm a Rutland Town resident and you never tell Rutland Town what you're going to spend on your budget, you know, things like that. And it's harmful. And I have to say the first one kind of cracked me up because they ran it on the same day as they ran a full editorial complaining about how badly misinformation was harming the Herald. And so I dropped Steve a little note and said, odd, you should mention that, Steve. I believe we'll come up with something. I did spend a couple $100 of library money talking to Bill Newb for advice on how to on what we should see in a correction. I do not believe it's libel because I am a public figure as the director of the library. I did mention that I didn't believe everybody who was on this board was a public figure. I mentioned this to Steve because I know he knows Carolyn and Bill. And so I mentioned, well, he may not have libeled me because I'm a public figure, but for instance, is my board member Carolyn Mube a public figure? Just so he understood that I was threatening him with libel without threatening him with libel. Bill's advice is it's probably a defamation suit if I was to go forward, because they ran not as letters to the editor, but as commentaries. And running it as a commentary, and Steve should know better, I thought I taught him better. Running it as a commentary means that the Herald personally selected that as something that they wanted to support and validate. I do not intend to sue Don Chaffee. I do not intend to sue my former employer, but it is really harming the library to have complete fabrications published repeatedly in the local paper stating things that are not true. And I yellow lined the editorials, both of them, and there was not a single statement presented as fact in either one of them that was true. And I can prove it and did. I was really ticked when the second one ran. The first one, I'm like, yeah, let him run his mouth. The second one, I'm like, this is harming us, and they still ran it. So fingers crossed it'll be in tomorrow's Herald. Can't guarantee it. If anybody asks about those, there were no factually accurate statements in either one of those. And I can prove every single one. So, yeah, I'm.
Does it feel like that's enough to wait for a retraction from the Herald?
I mean, Steve offered to run something. We've been wordsmithing it, and we've had a couple miscommunications. I don't want to get into a he said. That was Steve's first offer is, oh, I'll let you respond. I'm like, Steve, I am not going to argue with Don Chaffee in the pages of your paper when he doesn't use any facts. You know, when I was at the Herald, we were invited to go on O'Reilly's show because O'Reilly was lying about us, and we chose not to. Because you just can't argue with made up stuff. It validates the.
It highlights.
It validates the
It
fiction.
highlights. It just makes it bigger and bigger and bigger. We don't ever
So
know what it is.
I am hoping for a. If he puts in what we agreed on and what Bill helped me write, it's one of the most thorough retractions I've ever seen in a newspaper. So, thank you for the good wishes. Yeah, that's all I got. Questions? Right,
So do we want to talk anything about the union negotiations in executive session, or do you guys just want to wait until next month and hear where we're at?
Is there anything to report?
There's some issues, but I think that we sort of have a handle on it. I mean, we know, we're still at the stage where we're presenting, like, we are making our presentations and they're making their presentations. And so we haven't had any back and forth negotiating things, so I don't know if we, but,
I don't think we have anything to report
okay,
at this point. Respecting the privacy of the negotiations.
great. So, okay. So with that, I think
I move that we.
adjourn.
Where do you want your survey?
Okay, you're doing great.
Pass them around.
Thank you, guys. This is a good meeting. I appreciate everyone's input.
I probably read the wrong.
That's the best way.
Yes.